Let's talk a little Browns. We have asked you guys to grade AB through the first 2 weeks of the offseason. We all talked about
Andrew Berry.
how they filled most of the holes we wanted them to fill on this roster. And let's see how you guys do. We're going to start with Bull, go around the horn.
What's your grade card?
I gave him an A-. Now, I feel like every year I overgrade. I try not to.
Not you.
Listen.
No, you always.
Well, you know what? You get caught up in the news cycle, like everybody's going
You're
crazy
the most
over
calm
kind of
one
a middle of the
You're
road
the one.
signing.
You keep it realistic for
I
everybody.
do. I try to.
A-?
I feel like I overrate them, and maybe
But I
I'm doing
have
that
to.
again today. And the reality is that a lot of the Browns' big free agent moves have been failures in past years.
Okay, that's true.
So we could look back by the middle of this season. I'm like, what an idiot I was for giving them an A-. But here's why I like what they've done this offseason. Their biggest problem was defensive tackle. I think Dalvin Tomlinson was a great addition. He may not be a superstar player, but he's very good. He's very good. I don't have to have a superstar in every spot.
you got a superstar on
I
the
got to
end.
have good players. I need good players. The Browns have a quality share of superstars. They needed more of a share of good players. And he's better than that. He's in between superstar and good player. He's really good player. And I think that's a great addition. I like some of the depth signings they had on the defensive line as well. I think there's some potential there.
Okoronkwo is a good signing.
Yes, but even, what's his name, Maurice Hurst.
Yeah.
Like, that guy was a good player. I know he's been hurt a lot, and maybe he'll be useless because he'll be hurt again. But I think there's a lot of potential there. I think that's a listen, you're always, every team, in addition to a couple of free agent signings, big signings, is going to have a couple of Maurice Hursts that they sign, and you hope you get something out of nothing. They're going to pay him almost no money. If he's an average player, and could stay healthy, that's going to be a big difference because they were getting way below average play at that position.
They were.
Now, in the end, even though I don't think Anthony Walker's great, they did bring him back. I thought, and they brought Taki back, who played well the second half of the year. They're still a little weak at linebacker. That would, that's the only area that I don't think they addressed enough. I love the Elijah Moore move. And as the days have gone by since that trade, and that's pushed me up to the A-. Because the fact that they only traded down 30 spots instead of trading away a pick, and now they have 6 draft picks between rounds 3 through 5, which could definitely give them the ammunition to get back in the second round. And if they do have a player they really want, and they get back in the second round, well, then essentially you could look at it as almost getting Elijah Moore for nothing.
Well, whatever they'd package together to move up, they would lose that.
But those are lower picks and whatever. It's like
you put less faith in.
You don't want to have 8 rookies on your roster anyway.
No.
You know what I mean? So use that to move up again if they see a guy. And I think they could potentially do it. They've not been afraid to trade around with draft picks. So the more I think about it, I know Mike spoke to a couple people from New York. I've spoken to a couple of friends who have covered the Jets, and they're like, this guy can be really good. And I just think he's a very good fit.
Are you worried that he could be a malcontent because he was vocal last year?
Yes.
Yeah,
I am concerned with that.
I have a little bit of worry, too.
However, I think this team with Deshaun Watson, I'm just going with the assumption that Watson's going to get back to the guy he was. If he's not, okay, the whole thing's screwed anyway. Right. I'm going to go with the assumption that he is. And if that's the case, then the Browns are going to be throwing the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be second on the team in targets. And if that's the case, he won't be upset. Yeah. He'll be happy, and they'll do well. The thing that could put it over the top, is that what we're doing now?
Yes, you want the one move that
could boost up to an A, to the full A for me.
Sir.
Yeah. And that you'd think would be linebacker, but I don't really think it's a guy who I was not that excited about initially. And now some people are like, what do we need Renfro? We got 3 good receivers now. You can never have enough good pass catchers.
That's it.
And even though Elijah Moore, the one thing the Browns don't have, and you don't have to have it, and they can mix and match, Elijah Moore is not a true slot receiver. He's not. Right. And Amari Cooper played in the slot a little bit last year, and I think he could do that too. But Hunter Renfrow is a true slot receiver. And I think that, and if I could basically, let's say I've got 75 plays on offense, and if I could use those 4 guys with Hunter Renfrow for a total, I'm going to have on average 3 receivers out there, right? So that's 225 plays per game for receivers. Well, I'm splitting that up between those 4 guys with Njoku and Chubb, a little Jerome Ford in the mix. I'm feeling really good about that. That would put me up to an A.
All right.
Certainly if they signed Bobby Wagner, it would too, but I'm assuming because Tyvis was basically like, nah, he don't want to come here. And there's no other linebacker that would move the needle for me.
He did say, though, if the money's right.
Yeah. Certainly Bobby Wagner will be an A+. I'm just assuming he's not going to come here.
Brad, you think that's high? You were looking at him kind of sideways.
Well, I mean, Bull is usually tempered in his praise for other folks.
I think Bull's usually very fair on
very
these
fair
things.
on it, right? So I mean that raised my thinking here. Like, okay.
Curious thoughts.
So if Bull's got him at an A-, maybe I need to go to an A+.
No, I'm going roll the tape, baby. He's a straight B.
Wow, really?
B is in Brad.
You've been critical, and you've also been very.
I try to be fair,
doubtful.
right? Listen here. I'm using years of experience here, right? I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid, right? Don't give me no Kool-Aid here. I'm straight BCAAs. Give me those, right? Power me up, right? That's what I'm doing. So I like the acquisitions that we did, right? I think Bull's point is exactly right. I don't need many superstars. I need the people in the grunt work, the solid players. Those are the ones that make the team.
Like the Bengals composition, Bull.
Yeah.
The Bengals have their share of superstars, but what they have is a group of really good, capable players.
Those are the ones that
fit
make
well
the
together.
team.
And they don't have any weaknesses.
I actually think the Browns have more superstars than the Bengals do, but the Bengals have way more tier 2 and 3 players.
So when you have those middle,
we be throwing the word superstar around a lot.
I say when you have players at that level, the players that make on any sports team that make the team are the ones that bring the intangibles, the ones that sometimes their stuff get overlooked.
Right.
Because the headline guys are always going to get the headlines.
Sure.
It is the other guys that make the thing flow. And so I think Andrew's done a great job of assembling that, because I wasn't the guy running around and say, we got to grab all the high-priced free agents, right? Give me a bunch of people that can fill some void. And then I felt like, okay, now I'm putting the onus on, just like Okoro, Stevens put the pressure on Okoro. Now I'm filling the gap. Now, Miles, you're going to have to play here, right? Chubb, you're going to do your thing, right? Watson, you have to play. So to me, like where they are, in order to get better, for me to move them up to what I said was a Mike flip it. I said we're going to a B+ or an A- to get me there.
Right.
I'm going this way.
Wow.
Ask me why I'm going this way.
So why?
I'm going this way because we've committed to Watson, right? You tell me Watson has an arm, his ability to make plays, make things happen. So I have to give him all the weapons. I can't give him a piece of a weapon, hoping that you're a weapon. I said I got Cooper, DPJ, Elijah Moore. I said I'm gonna go full wide receiver set on this thing here. I'm gonna try to open it up.
I get that, but have you ever seen a team? In life, couples get divorced and then they get remarried. You're like, whoa. And they almost always get divorced again. Mm-hmm. My thing is, it's less than 2 calendar years from them divorcing.
But here, Jay, I say this. He only got divorced because he told him the truth.
Well, look.
I said, in the words of Steph Curry, I see no lies. Where was the lie at?
I don't think there was, but I think it was the method.
But hold on.
Was he disruptive to the clubhouse?
It was disruptive, but you've been in the locker room. There are many disruptive forces around here. He didn't tell him no lie. The question was, when he showed him that and told him that, what did they do about it? They tried to paint it like that didn't occur, and it did occur.
Right, but let me ask you this. Isn't there always going to be a fear from Stefanski and from Barry? If you don't bring him back and he goes on and does great things somewhere else, you're not really going to take a heap of criticism for that.
No, that's the easy way out.
If you bring him back and it explodes again, that's going to be in the first paragraph of your obituary.
There were reports, by the way, last night that he may be close to signing with the Jets.
Yeah, no, this might all be a move point. The Jets
point.
want him, by the way.
Yes.
And Aaron Rodgers wants him.
But I will tell you this. Scared man can't win nothing out here. Let me tell you something. So I'm going to take it back to my old crew. The Bulls are on the brink. Pistons were the arch rival nemesis. In order for them to get better, they saw a person they hated, and they sought him out. And that was Rodman.
That's different. They didn't have a history with
No,
him.
but they had a history with Rodman.
Not being in their locker room.
But from the standpoint, the people in Chicago hated him.
Was Rodman ever a disruptive force in the locker room?
Where?
OBJ's
Where?
never been a
Hold
disruptive force in the locker room.
on. Where? What stop? You want me to talk about Pistons?
Everywhere. I mean, in Detroit, we know there was the suicide
Let me
watch.
tell you something. Suicide, yeah, it was
He
suicide
was going to kill
watch.
himself
Yes,
in
the parking lot. In the parking lot.
of the arena.
Right. Everybody was in a scramble.
I just think I don't really care about the distraction stuff. I agree with G. The players love Odell. The other players love him.
Yeah.
I never heard a single complaint from another player. Odell tried to make himself off as he was completely innocent in the breakup here, which is not true.
That's
not true.
That's not true.
I think Baker's
Would you want him back, though?
From that perspective, I'm fine with him being back. I just think at this point, he's not really a fit. I personally have no faith he's going to stay healthy because he hasn't stayed healthy.
Now, that's fair, but not really a fit. We need a wide receiver in a bad way. Another one. I've got to give Watson Watson all the tools necessary because I've given you $230 million. I banked everything I have on you, right?
Yeah.
So why would I not tool you up so you can be successful?
It's your gray card, your opinion.
Yeah.
G, what do you got?
Man, I got him at a B. I think I gave him B, right? B plus, B minus, somewhere around there.
Let's see what you got.
B plus.
B plus. I gave him B plus.
You look very happy about it.
I like happy about that.
That's kind of like an A face, really.
So he can do a couple things to get to A. For me, my thing is this. I'm the first dude who said it. You got 6 games. I stand on all of that. I still stand on it.
You stand on it?
When we was drinking the 6-0 Kool-Aid and I seen what we was looking like, I said, no, never again. I don't do blind trust. One of our next thing is, do we owe AB an apology? No. All I want you to do is I want you to do your job. But let me remind everybody, the Cleveland Browns came in last place last year.
I don't think you have to remind us.
Some people, you got to remind
Burned
them.
into my retinas.
You came in last. You get no concessions for coming in last. Do not collect $200. Do not go past go. I'm giving you the Willy Wonka speech. You touch the ceiling and you have an everlasting gobstopper. Do you know how much that costs? Yeah, Charlie, you're not getting that off. What I'm telling you is this.
You're tripping.
Y'all got the B. Y'all got the B right now.
B plus.
I gave him a B plus right now. But there's some stuff you can do.
What's the move?
To get there.
Okay.
I kind of hedged my bet on this one.
Uh-oh.
Tyvus told me he didn't want to come. But money talk, right? Listen, you give me Bobby Wagner or DJ Shark, I step you all the way up to an A. Step you all the way, because now guess what? I got another young, I'm with you. We need another young receiver. We need another receiver. Listen, I need y'all to understand this. This is how I take life. I need more. I hustle. If you get one check over here,
give me more.
I need another check.
Give me more.
If I got insurance over here, I want more insurance.
Yeah, you gotta have
it. If I got a pair of shoes, give me some more pair. I'm gonna flip this.
Don't get the house with no furniture.
No furniture. Don't do that to yourself.
Don't do that.
Because guess what? We all desperate.
Breaking the hood rules.
We are desperate. And by the way, I love the feeling of being desperate. I love the feeling of being like, oh yeah, listen. Somebody trying to come get me. They testing you. They don't even think you good no more.
I'm about to lose these checks.
I like everybody on the Cleveland Browns roster looking over their shoulder, including the coach, including the general manager. Because here's what happens. In cutthroat organizations, in Fortune 500 companies, they always innovating. They always looking for the next thing. They got money they put just for research and development. That's all they do. And if it fails, so what? Guess what? That's how
they fire the little guy and the rich people stay rich either way.
If you're smart enough,
welcome to America.
Fire 1,000 employees.
That's how it works.
Welcome to America.
And so what you thinking is, I better not be that little small man on the totem pole. You better stop.
Look,
you better go to them company
Go
outings.
somebody else, not me.
Listen, you better learn how to network. But the reality of the situation is, the urgency of today is here because I see the Cleveland Browns that have the most pieces and pillars that I've ever seen in my life. You can go from generation from the 50s to the 60s to the 70s, and one thing they'll tell you, they ain't never had the talent they got at every single position of the field. You got Hall of Fame type players in this organization, and I'm not about to sit here and waste these years. I'll go back and look at the 80s and say, what would you have done to get over Elway? Would you go back one time and that one guy that you didn't want to get in linebacker or you didn't want to bring a receiver in? What would you do to just beat Elway during that time period?
And to your point, you can't afford to half-ass it because the top of the AFC is really good.
And so let's go be about it.
Yeah.
So for me, he's doing a good job. But I believe that if they get 1 or 2 more moves, I think that could put them in contention if the guy who you say the guy is that quarterback. And one thing I want to say before we kick it to Jay, I've been talking way too long, is that, look, I like that pressure. I love that pressure on Deshaun Watson. Because if you get him all the tools you need, guess what? I could go look at him and be like, hey, dog, you can't say we didn't give you nothing. You can't say we didn't give you no good produce.
The pressure.
The pressure on
Keep
you.
pressure on you.
Let's get it done because you don't get a year of reprieve saying, well, I ain't had no receiver. No, we putting that pressure on your shoulders because you got materials.
You ain't getting the Baker Mayfield walk out here. We give you everything you need right here.
Let's get it. Now look at your people and round them up and go play with some games.
There's a lot of stuff there to address. Before I give my grade, a couple of quick things. 1, he might feel pressure. 2, he'll say, you know my deposit number. Just keep sending those checks. Because whether he's 4-13 or 13-4, he's going to make the same amount of money for the next 4 years, and he knows that.
Yeah, but he don't.
So pressure off. Number 1.
He don't want the grief though.
Yeah, he doesn't want the grief. But he'll take his $230 million and he'll go live his life somewhere on a secluded island.
Let me ask you,
he doesn't care.
You got to go to the grocery store.
This goes to the core. Do you think he's a competitor?
1,000%. Absolutely.
Do you think he cares about winning?
1,000%. Absolutely.
So that 230 shouldn't matter to him, though.
So do you think that quarterbacks that flame out aren't competitive and don't care about winning?
That happens.
Eventually.
Everybody feels, yeah, right.
Look, so what I'm saying is you are not a professional athlete unless you're competitive. Period. Mm-hmm. There's varying levels of it. There are some guys that are just taking a check.
I have to stop you, Jay,
but you
because
don't get into the professional athlete club by accident.
The problem here, I get what you're saying. Here's the problem. You know what neutralizes that? Sometimes the money neutralizes that. That fierce competitor that you have, that you had. As soon as you get that money.
Sometimes. You're absolutely right. Now, here's what we're trying to figure out with Deshaun Watson.
I got to do all that.
We're always asking this question. We've asked it probably more times than any single question since we've started this show. Is he going to be the guy that he was in Houston? The answer to that is nobody here knows.
We don't know.
We all have theories. But now we're starting to get a body of work. The picture's beginning to come into focus. Mm-hmm. It's not like we haven't seen him.
What do you mean?
With Deshaun Watson. Will he return to Houston, Deshaun Watson? See, we have 6 games, a body of work.
But how do you do that?
Where we can look at it and say, well, now I have a better idea of what my answer is going to be.
But Jay, how do you return to form?
So, Brad, this is one of the fascinating things that I've always thought about pro sports is how and when players, individuals, and positions in sports get old. And it happens, by the way, it's happening to the 4 of us. We all aged at a different rate. If we all threw pictures of us up at 40 years old, all of us, we're all the 40th year of our life on our birthdays. Some would look younger, some would look older.
Absolutely.
And in pro sports, we've seen guys. Carlos Baerga was a guy we talked about yesterday. God, at 22, who's going to predict that at 30 he's going to be gone? Like, different body type, different everything. So your metabolism, your genetics have a lot to do with that. Deshaun Watson still looks like the same guy. You can't look at him and say, oh, he's let himself go. Still looks good. What we don't know is the process of a player getting old or losing his fastball. So we're all speculating. Now, the Browns, in their speculation, said, all my chips here, he's going to be that guy.
Right.
And I want to think that. In the worst way, I want to believe
your
that.
percentage, you said one time was, but you said about 60%?
Yes. I'm where I was that he would return to that guy. Now, the reason is because it's not like we didn't see him at all last year.
Right.
We saw some.
We saw some. And I saw flashes of the old guy. There were a couple of plays where I'm like, that's it. There he is. There he is. I can't see that for stretches. I've got to see that for 85, 90% of his body of work.
Yes.
And
Jay,
I'm not.
that doesn't mean there's no pressure just because he's made money.
No, but what I'm saying, when I say no pressure, I'm gonna fall on my sword as you have. That's hyperbole. I don't mean no pressure.
Okay.
What I said yesterday was he has the least amount of pressure on him than anyone in the entire organization. I stand by that.
Because of his security.
Because of his financial security.
But I think, Jay, that depends on him, right? Like, if I were Deshaun Watson, I think, now, I never made $230 million. Maybe if I made $230 million, I wouldn't give a crap if I were good at my job or not. Maybe. I don't know.
You would.
I
know
think
you.
Think I would,
and you know what? And I don't want to imply that Deshaun is thinking that. I don't think that.
I know that. But in my mind, I'm thinking, man, he has to be humiliated by how he played last year.
Right.
And I know you said, well, why didn't he turn
You're
it around?
banking on that.
But why didn't he turn around by game 6? And that's fair.
You're banking on that.
Maybe he just wasn't able to put it
So
together.
here's the body of work that I'm using right now to make my decision.
Yeah.
Those 6 games.
Yeah.
And what we have seen him do since those 6 games came to an end. This is what I was hoping I would see. An Instagram feed that was filled with work stuff. He's going to work. This guy's going to work.
Yeah.
To Okoro's point, he's feeling that heat. He wants that check. He's the first one in and the last one out. Instead, and I don't want to kill him too much for this, crying out loud, they deserve their offseason. They should have fun. I would be more judicious with how I share that because you're giving your critics ammunition when your off-season Insta feed is filled with the World Party Tour.
Is that still doing that? I'm not paying attention.
I haven't looked at it recently. The last time I looked, it was way too heavy.
I mean, listen, if he's not working as hard as he possibly could this offseason, shame on him.
And he might
because
be.
He needs
he
it.
might be, and he's just not sharing that on Instagram, and that's fine. And I'll be the first one in October to say he clearly put in the work. Brad, you know what someone told me once about pro sports?
What's that?
Season to season. I think it was I was watching a Yankees spring training game this year. And they were talking about the first baseman, the former Cub, Rizzo. They said that Rizzo, when talking to the play-by-play guy, said, you know, every year I show up at spring training, every year since I've been in this league, I show up with this deep fear in my gut that I'm going to fail, that I can't hit anymore, because I know how hard this game is. And every year I show up and I'm like, is this the year that I got a little bit slower? Is this the year that...
Yeah.
And that's fair.
That's fair.
And someone once told me about professional athletes that time between seasons, last game of one season to the first of the next, that's when you can see what did they do in the offseason? Did they put in the work?
That's it.
Or did they give it lip service?
There's a formula.
You could never hide it, could you?
There's a formula. So I will tell you that I've witnessed 2 significant, because it's not about the money at that point. It's not about the money. You have, so Jordan, who is arguably the greatest player who ever played the game, who was making the most money, had a fear of failure.
Right. That's what motivated him.
And that kept him going.
Did anyone work harder than Michael that you ever saw?
Nah, I mean, I've seen some guys work hard, but he was for a guy of his stature.
It was him.
It was him. He worked hard. So I saw another transformation. Do you remember when the Lakers in the early '80s, when the Lakers in Boston, Bird, were going back and back in Champions Series, and then the Lakers end up losing to the Celtics, and then McHale started calling Magic Johnson Tragic Johnson because he was throwing he had a bad finals.
Right.
Yep.
Between the end
Magic
of that finals
went back in the lab.
and went back in the lab and came back that year, Magic Johnson, between those 2 periods, because Magic Johnson was making a lot of money at that time.
Right.
He was never worried about money.
It wasn't about the money.
But he wanted to win.
It was about his reputation and what because he cared.
That's what Watson better be working on.
That's what I don't know.
He cared,
I hope he is.
Magic cared about what people thought of him.
Right.
And that drove him.
And see, so my again, I'm using all this little evidence that I've gathered. I'm thinking, how would have I responded in the almost 2 years of not taking a snap? And the whole world thinks I'm a world-class jerk.
Yeah.
I would have buried my head, shut my mouth, done my work, and counted down my minutes to when I could show the world.
So I could show you.
Eat it.
Yeah.
Eat it.
Yeah.
Because I can still do this at the highest level. So I knew there'd be rust. Didn't think it would be all 6 games. I had really high hopes that this guy was going to be the guy that Magic was after he was called out. Mm-hmm. And he might still be. And I'm not going to cast my final judgment yet. I'm just saying, as I'm sitting here and looking at all the evidence, his Instagram feed, what he did in those 6 games, how he's conducted himself in public, I thought he would be at every fundraiser in Cleveland from the end of last season till today. I thought I'd be seeing him handing out checks, visiting boys and girls clubs. I'm told that's the guy he is, and I believe that, by the way. I believe that Deshaun Watson is a very good person. Mm-hmm. I believe that because I've had people that I trust and know that know him well tell me that. So all of that being
and
said,
some of them still could be doing.
I hope he's it. I know we got off on a wicked tangent. My grade's A-. I'm at Bull. I'm stunned. Not only did I have an A-. How can I make it better?
You gave us a B+.
I did?
Yeah.
God, I could have sworn I said A-.
He's drinking his own Kool-Aid.
No. Yeah, you're right. Here's how you get it to an A-.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Bobby Wagner
Okay.
or Renfro.
Yeah.
Those are my guys. And it doesn't have to be both. Obviously, I don't think it can be both. If I have a preference, it's Bobby Wagner. Because I think that he's done a masterful job this offseason. Because for him, he's playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
You had 3 heads sticking out of the machine. And they were defensive line, wide receiver, and linebacker. And it's really hard to knock all 3 down and keep them down at the same time. That's the game in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I think he really addressed the defensive line first because that was the biggest, ugliest mole was the defensive line. And I think with Okoronkwo and Tomlinson, great way to address that problem. And I think he's filled in the gaps with other guys. But I really think this is weird. You said that they've had, we've looked at a lot of their offseason moves in the past and then they haven't panned out. If there's an Ethan Posich in this group,
right,
and he stands up and becomes an all-pro caliber player that we have to re-sign to a long-term deal, and he does that 2 years in a row, then that C- that I'm giving him for his overall talent acquisition grade, I think that comes up to a B. He can do that much damage with one good class, draft, free agents,
sure,
and trades. So I want to commend him for the work that he's done this offseason. Every single area that we killed him for, the defensive coordinator, the special teams coach, the defensive line play was poor, our wide receiving core is thin. 4 of those 5, linebacker being the one glaring weakness right now, 4 of those 5 moles are back in the machine.
Well, and overall, if you look at it, position group by position group, right?
Yeah.
The quarterback is well, I guess technically they got worse because you got a worse backup. I'll say that because
you got a
worse backup.
I'll give you that.
But and I guess I would argue running back
room, with Kareem Hunt
but
gone
wide receiver,
and Dearness Johnson is gone.
Right. Wide receiver better.
Yep.
Tight end, I think slightly better because what's his name? Aiken's a little better
right.
than the other guy. Offensive line is the same.
Yeah.
But on defensive line should be significantly better.
Significantly.
Linebacker the same.
Yeah.
And secondary, I think, is slightly better.
Yeah.
But even the downgrades at backup quarterback and backup running back are not catastrophic in any way.
Yeah, because they weren't pivotal pieces. It's not like we lost Chubb.
And Jerome Ford could end up being just as good as Kareem Hunt was this past season.
I think he will be.
Yeah, so
I have high hopes for Jerome Ford.
And we only have to worry about the backup quarterback if Watson gets hurt. So
now, if they're awful and I'm drinking Kool-Aid right now, then
who knows?
I'll admit it. In October or November, we thought these guys were going to help. They're just a bunch of pigs.
Right.
I hope we're not saying that.
No.
I hope we're not, because I think it's the studs and duds that we've talked about, and there was this void of guys in between. And when you look at rosters like the Bengals and even the Chiefs this year, the Chiefs had a ton of rookies this year.
Yeah,
and look what they did.
Right.
So the formula for success is to have the superstars in the pieces where you need them. And by the way, we do. By superstar, I don't know if Amari Cooper's still a superstar, but I think he's, we call him a 1.
Pro bowler.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson was that guy.
Yeah.
Hope he can get back. Nick Chubb is that guy. Myles Garrett is that guy.
Batonio.
Now you can't have a precipitous fall off where you've got a big upper tier and then a huge gap. But the Bengals have a lot of guys together, and I love the way you talk about them. You know what? They're pretty good. He's pretty good. He's not great. He's good. Capable guys that work together that don't get burned 5 times a year on these inexplicable long touchdowns like the Browns did.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals don't have any Myles Garretts on defense, but they have no
but Reader's pretty damn good.
Listen, Reader's really good. Hendrickson's really good. Logan Wilson's really good.
They've got a lot of really goods.
They don't have any zeros.
Yeah, you're right.
They don't have any zeros.
Yeah, and
the Browns had too many zeros on defense.
Well said.
And now, they still may have a zero at one of the linebacker spots, but they have less because they had 2 zeros they have all zeros at defensive tackle.
Yeah.
And now they, at the very least, have one that's way above his year.
Right.
So what's going to happen to Kareem Hunt?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to be a running back in a free agent market today.
There's no money.
There's no money. I saw yesterday that Zeke is down to 3 teams.
Well, but then there was another. So the report from Schefter was he's down to the Bengals, the Jets, and the Eagles.
That's what I saw.
But then there was a report later in the day that those are the 3 teams he wants to go to, not necessarily that they're interested in him. Because
what is he going to get? What is he going to get?
Not much.
Maybe $5 million at best.
I don't know that there's going to be a team that gives him that.
Maybe $5 million with incentives.
Yeah.
But
it will be an incentive deal.
I actually do. I mean, I don't know what the Bengals at this point. I guess are not cutting Mixon. I don't think Zeke at this point is better than Mixon. Mixon didn't have a great season last year. I still think he's better than Zeke. Although the one thing with Zeke that for a team like the Bengals and even the Bills, he's a great blitz picker upper.
Yeah,
if
he
you
is.
will.
Although he's not a very good center.
No, he's not a good center, but he's great at picking up the blitz and he's good in short yardage. And that's if you're a passing, like the Bengals throw a lot, the Bills throw a lot, the Chiefs throw a lot, so he can fit with those teams. You don't want him to be your bell cow back, but he can fit with those teams.
The other thing in Cincinnati, he's just a stone's throw away from Columbus. So I saw.
Yeah, that's why it is interesting. I thought it would be interesting to see him in Cincinnati.
I don't think Kareem Hunt's getting more than $2-3 million.
I don't either. I think two and a half, maybe 2, 5 years.
Zeke's asking for his college number back wherever he goes.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, 15.
Interesting.
I think if I'm Kareem Hunt, I'm just trying to. I don't even care about the money this year. I try to go to a place where I can be the lead back.
Kareem could come back here. I can see him coming back here for.
I just don't think they're going to spend that money on him.
Well, I mean,
although it's not a lot of
the
money.
fact that he hasn't signed anywhere else leads
I'd bring him
open that
back. I
possibility.
mean, if I can get him for $2-3 million, I'd bring him back.